It's starting. After everything you've been dragged through, you're about to rise quicker than you ever fell. What you labeled as failure wasn't collapse, it was compression. Every slow season, every silent stretch, every moment you felt unseen or bypassed wasn't decline at all. It was pressure gathering inside you, the kind that only shows up before liftoff. People think momentum is supposed to be loud, flashy, productive. But the truth? The strongest comebacks are born in the parts of your life no one else witnessed. And whether you knew it or not, life was pulling you back only so it could launch you farther than you ever planned to go. Most people never reach this point because this is where life checks who's built for the climb. This space, the gap between wanting a new life and becoming the person who can actually sustain it, is where most get stuck. They loop the same doubts, repeat the same cycles, stop right at the doorway. But you didn't. You kept going when nothing made sense, when guarantees evaporated, when progress felt microscopic. And those choices, the ones you thought were insignificant, forged a level of inner strength most people will never understand. Somewhere along the way, without realizing it, you crossed a threshold. The version of you that used to settle, pause, shrink, doesn't exist anymore. You're not trying to level up. The shift already happened. Your mind recognized the new chapter long before your life started catching up. Comebacks don't start with fireworks. They don't burst through the door with some dramatic cinematic scene. Most of the time, they begin quietly, in ordinary moments that feel a little heavier, a little stranger, without any clear reason. They're easy to ignore, but they're signals, signs that everything around you is rearranging itself in your favor. People expect comebacks to feel exciting from the beginning, but that's not how they work. A real comeback begins when life starts tuning into you again, before you even realize it. It starts when your decisions sharpen, when your no becomes quicker, when you suddenly stop tolerating what used to drain you. That's not coincidence. That's alignment forming underneath the surface. Maybe recently, you've noticed interactions feel different. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. Your intuition speaks a little louder. These are the early hints. The universe always whispers before it delivers. And right now, you're already inside that whisper phase. The quiet pivot before everything shifts into place. The truth about comebacks is that they rarely introduce themselves. They unfold through tiny internal recalibrations, invisible turning points, and the subtle moment where your soul outgrows the version of you everyone else still thinks you are. That's why it feels unusual. That's why it feels surreal. You're not just getting better, you're stepping into a reality that finally matches your energy. And once that alignment clicks, something unexpected happens. Something people don't talk about because it doesn't look polished or motivational at first. It looks messy, and that's intentional. There's a reason your setbacks felt so personal, so targeted, so ridiculously unfair. They were designing a redemption arc that only makes sense when you look back. The universe doesn't write straight-line stories. It writes symmetry. It writes poetry. And the harder the fall felt, the more profound the comeback is about to be. Think about the moments that cracked you open, the conversations that wrecked your confidence, the chances that slipped through your fingers, the people who underestimated you at the exact moment you needed support. None of it was random. The universe doesn't waste wounds. It transforms them into openings. Those experiences didn't remove you from your path. They carved it deeper. They gave your rise meaning. They gave your story weight. You're entering a chapter where everything you lost returns in a higher, more refined form, almost as if life is paying you back with interest. And it's going to feel too precise, too aligned, too intentional to dismiss as luck. Your comeback isn't about getting back what disappeared. It's about stepping into a reality that fits you better than what you were chasing before. This next chapter is the one that makes your past finally make sense. That's why the pain felt disproportionate. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The universe reserves its most dramatic plot twists for the people who endured storms they didn't deserve. It's poetic justice, it's spiritual symmetry. It's that moment when your life stops looking like a struggle and starts looking like a twist nobody saw coming. Your story is moving toward a very specific place, one where the pieces click together so flawlessly that even you won't be able to deny the timing. Real comebacks rarely look clean while they're happening. They feel chaotic, unsteady, slow, like life is dragging you through countless little upgrades you never asked for. But that's the point. It's not about perfection. It's about capacity. A comeback isn't just your circumstances improving. It's you becoming someone who can hold a better life without collapsing under it. That's why everything feels disorienting. Your mind is adjusting to possibilities that used to feel impossible. Your emotions are shedding beliefs that never belonged to you. Your spirit is expanding into a version of you that refuses to shrink just to survive. Growth on this scale doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels unfamiliar, like you're stepping into someone else's life. But you're not. You're stepping into your own. Comebacks demand honesty. They ask you to see yourself clearly. What you want, what you deserve, what you can't pretend about anymore. That's why the rise looks messy before it looks miraculous. The reshaping comes before the breakthrough. The uncomfortable shedding comes before the new story. If your life feels shaky right now, that's exactly why. Your capacity is growing. Your identity is evolving. Your energy is expanding into a larger container. And even if it feels chaotic, this is the part where everything is aligning in ways you can't see yet. Because right after this confusion comes the click, the moment where everything suddenly makes sense. You've been carrying a kind of pressure that's hard to explain unless someone has lived it. It wasn't just stress or emotional heaviness. It was a spiritual stretching, an inner expansion happening inside a life that felt too small to hold it. Only people with something meaningful inside them ever feel that kind of pressure. And that's the first sign you've been holding something golden. When you're being prepared for a bigger life, the universe doesn't start with blessings. It starts by strengthening your capacity to receive them. That's why the last chapter felt so tight, so intense. Not to destroy you, but to reinforce you. You are being shaped into someone with a stronger spine, a clearer mind, a sharper intuition, a resilience that doesn't crumble at the first obstacle. Not because you are being punished, because you are being prepared. The universe doesn't press the empty, it presses the valuable. Look back and you'll realize even the small moments felt heavier than they should have. Tiny setbacks felt strangely significant. You could sense something shifting beneath the surface, even if you couldn't explain it. That's because pressure peaks right before a breakthrough. It arrives when your spirit has outgrown your current reality. When the version of you that survived your past can't carry the future you're stepping into. When the universe knows you're ready, even if you don't feel ready yet. Pressure means you're being refined. It means something powerful is taking shape inside you. It means life is compressing your potential so that when the breakthrough comes, it won't unfold slowly. It'll hit all at once. You've been carrying a weight most people never experience because most people never hold anything worth fighting for. But you did. And now the pressure that once felt unbearable is becoming proof that your story is about to shift in a way so beautiful it almost feels like the universe is paying you back in reverse. And here's the strange thing. Once that heaviness begins to lift, once you feel your breath returning, the world reacts differently. People shift. Opportunities rearrange themselves. Energies move around you in ways that don't make sense at first. You think you're being pushed out, forgotten, left behind. But what's really happening is far more intentional. You're being tucked away for a moment because the reveal is going to require all eyes on you. One of the most surreal spiritual experiences is when it feels like life is slowly stepping back from you. It's subtle. People reach out less. Conversations feel hollow. The interactions that once mattered lose their spark. You start wondering if you've done something wrong, if you've lost your momentum. But that quiet isn't rejection, it's transformation. It's life muting the volume around you so you can tune into yourself. There's a moment, right before the rise, where life almost dims you, not because you're fading, but because you're transitioning. The noise quiets, the distractions fall away. The people who used to take up emotional space disappear from your orbit. Not because you're insignificant, because your energy is shifting into a frequency they can't reach anymore. It feels isolating because the old version of your life doesn't fit. But the new one hasn't revealed itself yet. This is the in-between, the private polishing stage. And here's what most people miss. The universe always hides its strongest players before it elevates them. It removes the unnecessary voices so you can hear your own direction clearly. It cuts away misaligned relationships so you don't drag dead weight into your next season. It pulls you out of environments where you once blended in because you're heading into a phase where blending in won't even be possible. When life pulls you off stage, it's because a spotlight is being prepared. You were never invisible, you were incubating. Your confidence has been rebuilding without interference. Your intuition has been sharpening in the quiet. Your energy has been rising while no one was paying attention. And the same people who drifted away will one day swear they always believed in you. That's how spiritual foreshadowing works. The universe quiets the room so your entrance echoes louder. This next chapter isn't about trying to get people to notice you. It's about becoming someone who can't be overlooked, someone whose presence shifts the atmosphere before you even speak. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was preparation for the moment the world finally sees you clearly. And when that moment arrives, nothing about you will feel hidden ever again. When a real comeback begins forming inside someone, the first to sense it are not strangers, it's the people closest to them. When your energy starts elevating, long before your results show, the people who once felt comfortable around your uncertainty start feeling uneasy around your stability. It starts small. You enter a room and the tone changes. Conversations shift. There's an unspoken tension you can feel but can't explain. That's because you're carrying a different presence now. One people can feel before you say a word. When a person's spirit strengthens, their energy becomes anchored, certain, aligned. And that shift exposes the insecurities in those who never faced their own. They're not reacting to what you did, they're reacting to who you're becoming. Your silence hits differently. Your boundaries feel unfamiliar. Your confidence seems unexpected. And the version of you who tolerated everything, who shrank, who dimmed themselves, that person is gone. You'll notice subtle reactions. People treating you strangely without reason, becoming distant, acting competitive or defensive for no logical cause. It's not because you're changing for the worse. It's because your evolution is revealing what was fragile in them. Elevation doesn't just separate you from your past, it separates you from the people who were comfortable with your past. This is what comeback energy does. It shifts dynamics without you lifting a finger. And the more you rise internally, the more undeniable your presence becomes. You don't need to announce your progress. You don't need to justify your growth. Your energy communicates everything. Those who underestimated you suddenly pay attention. Those who dismissed you become unsure. Those who thought they understood you realize they have no idea who you're turning into. That's what makes this phase powerful. You're stepping into a version of yourself that cannot be minimized or ignored. This new energy doesn't require effort. It doesn't require performance. It doesn't need validation. It simply exists. And everything around you begins to respond to it. People, opportunities, timing, doors you didn't even know were closed. Every major transformation begins long before clarity arrives. The breakthroughs, the realizations, the internal upgrades, they don't begin when everything feels aligned. They begin in confusion. Growth moves quietly, slipping in during the moments where you feel lost. Confusion is the hallway between your old life and the one meant for you. And right now, you're standing in that hallway. Think back to the times recently when nothing felt clear. Your emotions contradicted your logic, your desires shifted, your identity felt blurry. That wasn't backtracking. That was your old self, losing its grip. You were shedding patterns and mindsets that can't survive where you're going. Darkness doesn't mean absence of growth. It means growth is no longer optional. Most people retreat when life feels uncomfortable. They mistake discomfort for failure, but not you. You stayed. You kept moving even when you couldn't see the path. That alone sets you apart, because real transformation begins the moment staying the same becomes more painful than stepping into the unknown. Once your soul reaches that point, forward becomes the only direction that feels natural. That's why your inner world has been shifting. Your tolerance for old patterns has vanished. Your desire for alignment has intensified. Your intuition is clearer, not because you suddenly gained wisdom, but because the noise of your old life is fading. Growth in the dark means your internal world is rewriting itself before your external world matches it. And when that internal shift reaches its peak, when the darkness stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like preparation, something powerful happens. A turning point, a lift, a moment where everything suddenly clicks. And that moment is closer than you think. There's a phase in transformation almost no one talks about because it doesn't look inspiring. It looks empty. It feels numb, like your emotions have gone quiet and your ambitions paused. The things you used to chase don't excite you. The routines you once followed feel flat. Even your goals feel distant. This isn't burnout. It's not apathy. It's the emotional stillness that comes when you've quietly stepped out of your old identity but haven't fully stepped into the new one. This blankness is uncomfortable because it contradicts everything you were taught about leveling up. You expect the next chapter to start with fire, motivation, passion, renewed purpose, but instead it arrives with silence, a weird calm where nothing feels wrong, but nothing feels right either. That's because your soul is no longer aligned with who you used to be. You've emotionally detached from the narrative that carried you this far, and your spirit refuses to pretend it fits anymore. When the story stops matching the soul, the universe clears the page. You're in that cleared space right now. It's not emptiness. It's the removal of everything that no longer resonates. Your old desires, your old routines, your old expectations, they don't feel like home anymore. And because they don't, your mind hasn't filled in the new ones yet. That creates a temporary floating sensation, like you're suspended between two lives. This moment right here, this quiet stretch that feels like a pause in your story, is actually the doorway to everything that's coming next. It's the space life creates before it hands you a brand new chapter, a reset, a deep, intentional inhale before the shift arrives. What makes this phase so powerful is that it releases you from your past without forcing you to sprint toward a future you're not ready for. It gives you breathing room. It widens your inner landscape, so the next version of you has the space it needs to take shape. And even if it seems like nothing is moving, everything is rearranging beneath the surface. Your intuition is tuning itself. Your priorities are being rewritten. Your energy is preparing to align with a future self you haven't met yet, but are already stepping into. And on the other side of this stillness is not a return to who you were, but the beginning of a story crafted for who you're becoming. A story built around your new standards instead of your old limits. A life shaped by your evolving spirit, not your past fears. You're not stuck. You're being cleared. You're not losing yourself. You're shedding a version of you that couldn't walk the path you're about to take. This emptiness you feel, it's the final signal, the quiet proof that your comeback is already underway. For so long, you thought you were supposed to move like everyone else, hit the same goals, follow the same pace, reach the same milestones. And that's why the frustration cuts so deeply. You kept asking why your timing never looked normal, why your wins didn't arrive when you expected them, why your journey always seemed out of sync with the people around you. But the truth is, you were never meant to match their timeline. Your life was never supposed to unfold like the collective. It was always meant to unfold like your purpose. You were never behind. You were being delivered on a schedule designed specifically for your destiny. Every moment that felt late was actually perfect timing working behind the scenes. The opportunities that didn't open weren't rejections. They were redirections away from rooms that couldn't hold your potential. The relationships that fell apart weren't failures. They were protection from bonds that would have limited your growth. The plans that didn't land weren't losses. They were detours guiding you towards spaces where you wouldn't have to shrink to fit. You weren't being delayed. You were being shaped. Your life was never meant to follow a predictable formula. You weren't made to breeze through chapter after chapter checking boxes. You were built for depth, for pressure, for precision. Your transformation needed detours. Your strength needed trials. Your clarity needed time alone. And your future required a path that not many people could have survived. Proof that your story was meant to be crafted, not copied. If you're still here, thank you for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed the message and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button. It truly helps. And feel free to share your thoughts or your story in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more meaningful conversations.